Welcome, everyone. The NFL Draft is within a week, which means it's time to look forward to some of the best prospects at their positions. I'm Joe with the Game House, and today we're going to be taking a look at the best quarterbacks in the 2023 NFL Draft. Today we'll be going over the top 5 quarterbacks in the 2023 NFL Draft. If you want to see more position rankings and a big board, that is coming out on thegamehouse.com next week. I'll be using my player profiles throughout these videos to kind of go through some of the strengths and the weaknesses of the players. And we're going to be starting from 5 to 1. So we're going to get started with Hendon Hooker, at quarterback number 5 for me in this class. Really like Hooker, what he's done at Tennessee this past couple years. Protects the football, has generated some big plays. We'll start off with the strengths for Hooker. Great decision-making skills. He throws to what he sees, which is good in some instances. It's bad in some other instances, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But he protects the football, and that's just very, very important. We see some of these other quarterbacks in this class who maybe don't do that as well. Protecting the football is still very important in the league, even if you can generate big plays. He's got a pretty good arm. You saw that on display when they played Alabama. He hit Jalen Hyatt pretty deep a couple times. What was it, like 6 catches, 5 touchdowns for Jalen Hyatt in that game? He's got some arm talent that he does need to refine a little bit, but he can hit the deep balls if he needs to. When the pressure starts coming, he can stand tall in the pocket and make throws. He can elude pressure. He can evade pressure. Sometimes he doesn't do the best against pressure. Just because you stand tall in the pocket while pressure's coming in, maybe that's a sign that you don't recognize pressure all the time. I don't think he's the greatest against pressure, but he has the tools to beat it. Like, standing in the pocket is something that he can work on a little bit more, and that's something he can start with. He can evade the pressure. That's something he can work with. But he does need to recognize it more, and his accuracy does dip, which we're going to get to in his weaknesses here in a little bit. So, starting with the first weakness, Tennessee's offense is not a full field read offense. In the NFL, you're going to have to make full field reads. That's just how it is. He doesn't do that. He's more like a 1-read, 2-read type of guy. And that's concerning, not just because there's a lot of quarterbacks in college that maybe don't have to make full field reads, but he's 25 years old. He's coming off a torn ACL. So this guy has to develop faster than other people. Otherwise, they're going to throw him out within a couple of years here. So you would like to see him have the ability to go through his reads, go through his progressions, and find the open man a little bit more at this point of his football career. His accuracy in the short and intermediate areas could use some work. Specifically, I think they could use some work in giving receivers room to run after the catch. He's got good ball placement down the field, gives his guys a chance. But the short and intermediate, sometimes he can throw it off target, and the receivers can still come down with the ball. But it kind of halts their ability to run after the catch. It's something they can work on a little bit too. His decision making is an asset here. But there's times where he doesn't anticipate his throws. And this is what I kind of mean with the pressure thing. A lot of times in the NFL, you have to throw with anticipation as the pressure's coming in and hit the target. And that's something he doesn't do. He throws to what he sees, which is good because he protects the ball. But the anticipation is something he needs to work on. He needs to throw receivers open a little bit more rather than just, using that 1-read offense here. I think he could be a good quarterback. I think it needs to be the right system. I've seen a lot of people have him as a first-round pick. I would personally not go that route. I would say second or third. I obviously have a third-round grade on him. But we know how quarterbacks go. Quarterbacks end up going higher than where they're graded. So, like Hendon Hooker's college career, there's a couple of reasons why you can be concerned about him. But there's reasons to be concerned about a lot of prospects. So let's go to quarterback number 4. Will Levis, a guy who played for Kentucky the last couple of years after transferring in from Penn State. He got a lot of flack because he didn't win the starting job over Trace McSorley, but I really don't think that's really a big issue here because I think James Franklin just kind of went with the guy who had experience and he's used to more well, I said Trace McSorley, didn't I? Sean Clifford, sorry. Sean Clifford. But Sean Clifford had been starting for a long time. And Levis transferred, and he made the most out of it. He played well in the SEC. The first thing, the size and stature, really good build for the SEC. He showed in 2021 that he was able to use that build to be a tough runner and run people over, get first downs, and use his legs. That's something that he was not able to show as much this past year as he dealt with injuries. And honestly, it seemed like Kentucky trying to kind of protected his draft stock for him by not calling as many design runs. He has really good arm talent. I wouldn't say it's the best in the class, but it's up there. He can throw the ball a mile. It seems like he can really good ball placement at times down the field. A lot of people will say, like, well, he doesn't have the best receivers, doesn't have the best offensive line. This is true, but the receivers they have at Kentucky this year, their freshmen are actually really good. They're going to turn into some really good players. But his arm strength really helped him at times. Sometimes he got him into some trouble, which we'll get to in a second here. Helped him get the ball downfield to some of these explosive Kentucky wide receivers who are they're just young, they're inexperienced. That's how it goes. But yeah, so as mentioned, he can make things happen out of structure. I like this for him personally because it's not going to go perfect in the NFL. There are times where I think his 2021 tape was better than his 2022 tape because he was able to run more because he wasn't as injured. And I think that's really an asset. We're going to click out of this ad here. Sorry, we got to keep the lights on here. He does need to work on his decision making. He has made plenty of interceptions. He's thrown plenty of interceptions. He's had plenty of bad decisions. Sometimes it's too much, I think, faith in his arm that he'll get the job done. Sometimes it is, I think he just doesn't see like safeties coming down. It's something he needs to work on. You can't turn the ball over that much in the NFL or else you'll probably get benched. I also think Levis can do a better job of going through his progressions. I think he did a better job than like Hendon Hooker at this, but there were times where he locked onto one receiver, specifically 2021 when he had Wan'Dale Robinson. Like he would just lock on to Wan'Dale, and they left some open receivers otherwise. And I would like to see him go through the full field reads a little bit more. Again, a little bit more advanced than Hendon Hooker in this one, but I would just, you want to see that a little bit more from a quarterback. He did a better job this past season of doing it, albeit in a year that was not really ideal for him overall. So accuracy's pretty decent, but there are times where he misses throw, underthrew some deep balls. He's really kind of leaves receivers not the best ability to run after the catch. This was stuff that I kind of saw this past year. With his tape. We'll see if like maybe the injuries affected him more than maybe we thought. Maybe the receivers or the pressure got to him a little bit more than that. He's one of the most pressured quarterbacks in all college football this past season. So you can only do so much at that rate. But yeah, his accuracy could be a little better. He's going to go first round. I'm pretty sure of that. I have a second round grade on him. Again, I'm a little bit harder on the quarterbacks, and we know quarterbacks are going to go higher. So that's why the draft range is higher than the grade. He's got plenty of talent, but you do need him to kind of shape his game a little bit more at the next level. So the next one is Anthony Richardson. So he is the quarterback from Florida. He started the past couple of years, or sort of this past year, and then I think he got one start the year before that. He was kind of battling with Emory Jones. For him, this is all about size and athleticism. Like this is, Josh Allen, but a better athlete. This is like Cam Newton. Those are the kind of the comps that are thrown around. I see it. This is a lot of the similar issues of especially Josh Allen coming out of college. So let's start with the strengths here. Richardson, good build. He showed out at the combine for his athleticism. He can run, he can jump, he can cut, and he also has a strong arm. He can throw the ball through a glass window, no problem. He's going to be breaking some receivers' fingers at the next level. He can fit the ball into tight windows with it. It's not just throwing it deep for arm strength. It's sometimes throwing it really hard, just try to get it into tight windows. He does that as well. Like those parts of the game, those are things that you can't really teach as much. If you don't have that athleticism, you don't have that arm strength, you're never going to find it in the NFL. Let's go to the weaknesses down here. He's got some accuracy issues. There's times where he misses guys that like in the flat. There's times he misses deep. He's got to work on his mechanics to make sure he can be more accurate in the NFL level. Completed just 53.8% of his passes at the college level. I would like to see another year in college to see if he can improve that or to see if the situation was the issue. But overall, I think that's something he needs to show he can do better, and that'll be something that NFL coaches will be working with him. Decision making is also something he needs to improve. There's times where he too has like too much faith in his arm and he tries to fit the ball in tight windows. He doesn't always see those safeties coming over the top. That's going to be something he needs to work on too. There was, the touchdown interception ratio needs to be a little bit better. And then also, he has a tendency to maybe want to do too much, right? Like, he feels the pressure coming in decently, but sometimes he leaves the pocket too soon and leaves big plays on the table for open receivers. So he needs to, go through his progressions, maybe a little bit quicker than he does, but make sure he stays in the pocket a lot of times and not just run at the first sign of trouble because you're going to leave plays on the table. He's going to take some hits. I totally see, like I said, the Josh Allen comparison. He's way more athletic than Josh Allen, but the strong arm and the issues he has coming out of college are kind of similar in that regard. He's going to go first round again. You don't pass on guys with this physical talent that often. I have a second round grade on him. I'm upgrading from what I had Josh Allen. I had Josh Allen at like a third or fourth round grade, if I remember right. Upgrading what I had on that because the physical tools do matter. Would love to see him sit a year in the NFL. I'm not sure that's a really logical thing to do these days with the NFL having kind of a win now situation here every year. Don't know if that'll happen, but I would like to see him sit and learn and work on his technique. But we'll see. We'll see. But the landing spot for all these guys is going to matter a lot. Number 2 for me, Bryce Young. So this is probably the favorite to go number 1 right now, at least according to the sports books. We'll see how that goes on draft day and within a week now. He's got solid arm talent for a prospect, especially a player his size. We're going to get to the size here in a second, but he can still get some zip on his passes. He still can have pretty good ball placement. He can fit it between tight windows. We saw that in the Sugar Bowl, especially where he against Kansas State, where he just really put the ball in some really nice spots, even with pressure. His accuracy, especially the short and intermediate areas of the field, he's very good. I would say like a distributor. I've seen people compare him to Steph Curry. I don't think it's an apt comparison at all, but he's like a point guard on the field where he just kind of distributes it to his guys, lets them do what they need to after the catch. And he's, with short and intermediate, game's really good. The deep ball's okay. I don't think it's like something that's like the best part of his game or anything, but the short and intermediate's where I really liked him. And then he also has the ability to make plays out of structure. Now, he's not the biggest runner. You can go look at the rushing stats to prove that. Not something I think we're going to see him do a ton, but he's kind of like playing out of structure more like Russell Wilson did, and that's why he's a comp for him. Russell Wilson is like, you can get out of the pocket, maybe more so in his early Seattle days, get out of the pocket, find guys downfield, make some magic out of the pocket because he does that. I would say another good comp for him, people won't like it, but Doug Flutie, an undersized quarterback who's able to make magic outside of the pocket, is someone who you can comp him to. Obviously, people think Bryce Young's career is going to go a little bit better than Doug Flutie, maybe even Russell Wilson, but we'll see how that goes. I like his ability to play out of structure because he keeps his eyes downfield while he's scrambling and makes plays with his arm. So the first thing we're going to talk about was the size, the weaknesses with the size. He's undersized. He's 6 foot, 194 pounds. I think he actually listed in a little bit less than that at the combine. This league, we're seeing some of the smaller quarterbacks get hurt. We saw Tua from Alabama get hurt a couple of times. We see Kyler Murray with the torn ACL. Now, he's not the same player as really either of those guys, but at the same time, you just have to worry about the durability. We see a lot of these guys who are smaller and like everyone's like, well, they're really good. You shouldn't judge the size, but sometimes you have to kind of think about it as one of those things where can he hold up? Is he going to be durable? I would like to think he can be healthy his whole career. That's just something where we're going to have to wait and see if he can do, if they can protect him, if he can make sure he can avoid big hits. Something you're kind of like, if you're taking Bryce Young, you're like, yes, I got a good football player, but at the same time, I want this guy healthy too. So like Richardson too, there are times where he leaves the pocket too early. He feels the pressure well and he gets out, and that's good. It helps him create that magic, and he's good out of structure. But sometimes he could stay in there a little bit longer. I'd like to see that. With some of the top guys, we're not going to have so many weaknesses that it's like very obvious, but something I'd like to see a little bit more of. But and again, we talked about deep ball. I would like to see him convert on more deep balls, hitting players, not just hitting on target, but hitting them in stride so they can keep on running after the catch. There's some where he needs to just let it rip a little bit more. Again, very minor weakness. He's going to go top 10. I have a first-round grade on him. He's my second quarterback. If you have him first, I really don't think there's too much between Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. I will not argue with you too much. I don't think these guys are perfect quarterback prospects like we've seen in the past with like Trevor Lawrence or Andrew Luck, but these are pretty good quarterback prospects. So Bryce Young's number 2. We're going to go to number 1. That is C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud started for 2 seasons for Ohio State. He had a bit of a rough start where against Virginia, I think it was Virginia Tech in his first game. He kind of struggled. Ohio State fans got on him, but he really showed out his first season at Ohio State. Yes, he has good offensive line. Yes, he has good wide receivers. But you still have to give credit where he is doing the work. So Stroud is probably the best in this class at placing the football on the money. He puts intermediate, short throws. He can get it to him. He can get deep throws down the field. I really loved watching the Rose Bowl from last season where he was able to like just pinpoint guys. And yes, Utah had some injuries and some guys playing defensive back that maybe didn't usually play defensive back, but his ball placement was still very good. So really liked what I saw out of C.J. Stroud's accuracy. I think he might be the most accurate in the class. So his pre-snap recognition is great. He's able to see where defense could be attacking him from. He could see what type of coverage is coming. That really helps him throw and anticipate really well. And he has good arm strength too. Not the strongest arm in the class, but he can make the throws to stretch the field vertically. That's what's important. I think he can fit the ball into some tight windows. Won't be the strongest in the NFL, but it will do. The weaknesses. So he doesn't have a big history of making plays out of structure. That is something he's going to need to work on. He did show it in the Georgia game, and that is encouraging. He also showed it in the Northwestern game when the weather was pretty bad. So he does have the ability, like some athleticism, to get out of the pocket and make plays. He just needs to show it more often, because there's times where, he could make more defense kind of focus on him more if he does use his legs as well as his arm, and that's something that's important in today's NFL. Like some of the other quarterbacks, he can kind of leave the pocket too early when he feels pressure. He can get some happy feet in the pocket. He handles pressure, I think, pretty well, but just something to kind of note as we go forward here. And sometimes his accuracy can be affected of like some of the technique stuff. His throws can have a little bit of a wind up to it. He needs to just make sure his technique's the same every time. I really love when he has his technique on point. He really does make good throws. Again, the ball placement is why I have him as quarterback number 1. Really good job there. But again, if you have Bryce Young number 1 and your number 1 quarterback, I'm not going to say anything about that either. So we have Hendon Hooker number 5, Will Levis number 4, Anthony Richardson number 3, Bryce Young number 2, and CJ Stroud number 1. Please let me know what you think of my rankings below. Let me know if you have someone number 1, someone I forgot. I'll mention another guy real quick. I do like Jay Kaner as well in this class. Don't know if he'll get drafted as highly as these guys, but just another guy to watch out for. We'll be doing all the position rankings as we move forward, so make sure to tune in as we go along. For now, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.